Welcome to the Business Growth Masterclass, where business growth is made simple. I'm your host, Albert Gillespie.
And I'm your co-host, Kellen Ketchersid. Join us as we bring you stories from business leaders so you can learn from their wins, their losses, and everything in between.
Today's guest is the owner and mindset coach at Peak Movement, which is a elite athlete and business executive, business leader, mindset and performance coaching firm based here in Lubbock, Texas. Without further ado, welcome to the podcast, Mr. Rustin Klafka.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I'm excited. Tell me, what is performance coaching? What does that even mean?
So really, all I do, if I can condense it down into like one sentence, is I help people make connections with themselves. Right. So whether it's, we have the training side, which is the athlete movement side, where we do all the physical training, but where I spend most of my time now is in the headspace world. So I just help people make connections with themselves a little more deeply so that they can discover any blind spots they may have or something that they're avoiding that they need to step deeper into. So yeah, it's just about making connections and then us figuring out how to move through those connections.
Okay, give me. I'm a practical guy.
Okay.
Explain it to me like I'm 8. What's like a practical example of an athlete that has some kind of mental something going on, and what does that practically look like in coaching?
So let's see. I'm trying to think. Okay, so just talked with an athlete today, first session. So first sessions in my world are like a discovery session. I'm just going to ask a ton of questions to try to figure out how they're processing competition or training in the world, right? And then what we discovered was for this athlete, they approached practice differently than competition, but they loved competition more. So they needed pressure in order to step up and perform. Mm-hmm. So they're a track and field athlete, right? A pole vault athlete. And they made the comment that they liked the pressure that if they missed the first 2 attempts, the pressure that the last attempt brought. And so in training, they will run through rather than get up on the pole. And it's basically a wash of training some days because you're not going up, you're not getting any of those reps. And so for this athlete, it was making the connection of, okay, we have to switch your perspective on how you're viewing the training. And so now the steps that they're going to take over the next couple of weeks is to approach training from make it a competition. So in their world now, what they're going to say or how they're going to approach every attempt is, this is my last shot at it. So it's just that making that connection, because it was just a blind spot of like, because to them, it's like, I don't know why I can't get up. I don't know why I can't get up on the pole in training. I can't. Right. And so the connection is because they can, right? You obviously can, because you do it and, all the way from preseason to regionals last year. So you can do it. So we just had to switch that headspace.
So just telling yourself, this is the last chance I've got, or just almost like self-deception in a little bit of in the moment of, because I saw like a meme on, I don't remember, one social media platform with a guy like trying to lift a bunch of weight. And he's like, if I can't lift this, my whole family dies. And it's like, like upping the drama of the moment, I guess. So you're saying that's effective. That helps people.
Yeah, it can help train there, because for her, when she wasn't going up, she was moving out of a present headspace into a future worry headspace. Right. Her brain was taking her to the future of like, if I don't get up, what's going to happen? Or if I do, am I going to be off? Or the standard's going to be, it was all of these future possibilities. And so we want to occupy the brain to focus on the present so that it can't go into the future. It's like a retraining of the loop, because everybody goes outside of present. They either go future or past. And so for her, it's future. So now we have to find something to trigger her back into the present. Because the pressure gives her tunnel vision. She's like, I know what I need to do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's making more sense. It's more of like being present in that moment. It's that flow that those athletes get to.
Yeah.
And like, for example, my son, we're deep in baseball right now. And,
of course.
and, when he's on and confident, he's an animal, and he's going to hit every pitch that comes in front of him. But the second he has something go wrong, and confidence goes away.
Yep.
So would that be the past? Like you said, people go to the future. Is his example his son ruminating on something that happened just in the immediate past?
Could be, yeah. And everybody has a go-to. Like everybody's either a past or a future. They usually don't ping pong back and forth. It's like an innate, oh, I'm in the past. Like this is the way last bat went. So of course it's going to go this way.
Yeah.
And then your brain will confirm it.
Yeah.
Because it looks to confirm. So it's like, oh, see, I did strike out.
So self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, and I have like this cheesy, I think I got it from some Instagram coach, was like, see that button on top of your hat, push the button. That's the reset. and that's our cue right now. But what you're saying is what every good coach has ever told us is like, be present in the moment, forget the last at bat, focus on this pitch.
Right.
And if you can get into that focus and that state of flow,
right,
good things happen.
Yeah, it's the elusive flow state. Yeah.
So are there different techniques that you use? And maybe we're drilling in on one like part of what you do. I get that, but sure. I'm just fascinated here with the past and future dichotomy. So if you've got somebody who has a tendency to go to past thinking, are your techniques different to get them out of that compared to what you would do with someone who does the opposite?
Different with everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. Because everybody's past and how they learn to operate or show up is different. And so, yeah, every athlete, every business owner, every person I work with is unique. And so it's finding the thing that works for you. Because, I mean, I could give you tools, but the tools I hand you may be the wrong tools. May not work for you. It's like, so this was probably a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, like on my Instagram, TikTok feed, like visualization was everywhere, right? Everybody was talking about visualization, but the problem with visualization is not everybody can visualize. And so sometimes visualization won't work. Or there was an athlete that I worked with, her team had a like a coach come in and they did visualization. She could only visualize a miss. So what do you think her shooting percentage did?
Yeah.
It dipped, right? And so we had to work through what was causing her to visualize a miss and forget visualization.
Interesting. Everything is different for every person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because we all have different backgrounds and histories and, different coaches, different parents, different teammates. And so along the journey, we've developed this way of operating that works until it doesn't. Yeah. And usually as you go up in levels, the things that worked for you in high school don't work at the college level. And so you have to relearn or unlearn some things.
It makes me think of that, like when you're playing golf and you have that cue and you're like, oh, I've got it. I figured it out. Yeah. And then 10 swings later, it's a little less effective. 10 swings later, it's no longer working. You're like, okay, I hate this. I don't know how to play golf.
Yeah. You know what I do when I'm playing bad?
What?
Is I'll take a second ball up on the tee box with me. And I'll just like drop it on the tee box. Because I know I've got a second ball if I need it.
And just having that does something for you.
Mm-hmm. Always swing better.
You know what helps me is I never play golf. So that's what works for me. I'm just saying. Y'all could try it if you want.
Good answer. Okay, I have a million questions on the athlete side, but I really want to, I don't even know what that means from a business owner side. Like what is performance coaching in the business realm? What does that look like?
It's the same. Like high performers are high performers. It's just a different arena. Right. So the content that I take an athlete through, like an elite athlete or a business owner or business team, is the exact same. There's no change. There's no terminology. We don't talk about ROI in a business meeting compared to an athlete. Like we just talk about making those connections and then learning how that shows up for you in the world that you operate in.
So when you're talking about the techniques that you coach, whether it's with an athlete or someone in the business world, you know, you've got these strategies that you're using that are tailored to them.
Right.
But before you can even decide what strategy to use, you've got to figure out what's going on in their head, right?
Yes.
And I would imagine that's got to be challenging, especially for some folks who don't really have a lot of introspection or don't really know themselves, like what's going on with themselves. How do you unlock that? How do you even get from, hey, we just met, to try these strategies?
Yeah. So the first two sessions that we do is all about you. So the first session that I take athletes through or business owners through, whether it's team or individual, there's a little differences just in the structure of it, right? There's more team exercises, that kind of stuff with the team. Individual, there's nowhere to hide. So it's just me and you. So
Yeah.
hope you like being uncomfortable. But really, so first session, we talk about stages of cognitive development. So it's the geeky science side of where your brain's at and where it's operating.
Okay.
And so we'll go through it and talk about stages 3, 4, and 5. We don't really talk about 1 and 2 because that's young kids, toddlers,
Can you tell us
leading
what
into
those are? Because we don't know those, and our listeners probably don't either.
Yeah. So this is done by Robert Keegan. He wrote a book, I don't even know, 10, 15 years ago. He and his partner, Susan Leahy, they're
Okay.
Harvard-based researchers, do adult development specialists. They're phenomenal. So these stages come from one of his books called The Immunity to Change. Phenomenal book. But really what it takes is, so stage 3 is the socialized mind. So it's this space where, our environment creates our meaning. We're really good team players. We're faithful to the cause. Like it's the people that you want on your team, because if they believe and buy in what you're doing, stage 3s are great, right? And then stage 4 is a step up. So if you move from a stage 3 to stage 4, this is a self-authoring mind. So you can kind of get the idea. So now you're able to kind of step outside of yourself and see things at a higher perspective, and you get to examine them. Stage 4 is actually where leadership comes in. These are people who are learning to lead, just because they can, what Keegan says, they can step outside of their frame. So you can step outside of all the things that you were handed growing up and, from birth until now, that you've composed this way of seeing the world, right? A filter. And then stage 5 is the self-transforming mind. But this is like a 1% guru of gurus, right? So these people are able to see things at like 30,000 foot perspective. They're able to, I can see my frame. I can also see your frame. So it's just a higher perspective on how you see things. So we talk through that first, and it gets a good gauge of like, okay, this is where I operate. Or you come to the understanding, oh, I think I'm here, but I'm actually here. Or with these people, I operate at a high level, but these other people, I'm right back at this low cognitive level. So what you end up learning is that it all fluctuates and oscillates between 3, 4, and 5.
Okay.
So your job is to recognize when you should be a 3, when you should be that good team player, and when you maybe need to step into a different, like higher cognitive space.
Okay, so a lot of that is
Just brain development.
You can exist, or you can be present in different stages. It's not, where you're at
Not always
right
stuck
now.
in one.
It's not static.
Or it might be dependent on your social context. Is that so? If I'm at church, I might be in my 3, and then I show up to work and I'm a 5, or maybe I'm a 4. Like wherever.
Right.
Is that what?
For sure.
Would you say that's accurate? Okay.
Yeah. The environment creates a ton. So like that part of 3 where the environment creates a meaning, you also get to recognize that the environment you're in will pull you one direction or the other.
What's 1 and 2? You said that was like
so it's like
young kids, but
it's like low brain development. So it's like 1 is like toddlers and young kids. So their brain just hasn't developed to process the world, between like subject, object, like subjective, objective, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
2 is a little further down the line. And then teenage years is when we step into the 3. So 3s are very honed in on themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like their perspective is them, right? That's when teenagers make decisions and you're like, did you not think about what that? And they're like, no. They literally cannot comprehend why they would think of anything outside of them and the decision. Yeah. So occasionally we'll talk about a 2, but it's rare. So the percentages, like Keegan in their research, I think that's something like 53% operate in a stage 3. It's like 35-ish in a stage 4, and then 1% for 5.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's your first meeting is you're unpacking cognitively.
Yep.
What level are they at right
Yep.
now and in the different scenarios? What's the second one?
Second one is all about you. So it's the pendulum of self. So I came up with the visual of a pendulum and where you swing. So the pendulum oscillates side to side. On, the right side, we'll say, is like the truest version of you, when you feel the most free to be yourself, all that good stuff. Swinging all the way left would be the false self, or like ego. And then there's this middle ground, which is a quasi self. So it's not quite ego, not quite true. It's more of a chameleon. And so that one's my favorite, simply because that's where I've seen the most like aha moments come, is in stage 2 or in the second session. And so it is this space of recognizing, because we talked about, people going future or past earlier.
Mm-hmm.
On the pendulum swing, people either go quasi or they'll go ego. It's rarely like they, like if they're away from their true self or like feeling free enough to be themselves fully, they're either in the middle, which is the chameleon, like walk into a room, read the room. Okay, I'm showing up this way.
Yeah.
Walk into another room, read the room. I'm showing up this way.
Mm.
The ego is either high or low. And so people who operate in ego either have the high ego, which we all know, right? The cocky, arrogant, loud, abrasive, the one that you're like, ego. The other one is like low ego. So it's like self-loathing, timid, a little deflated, but ego can go both ways. We just, most of the times we only recognize ego as like the high ego guy. Yeah. And so that one's my favorite, because we'll do an exercise after that to really like tap home where you're at.
So is the true self, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah,
and maybe you can give us like an example of that breakdown that you just gave. But is the true self between arrogant, cocky, but also self-defeating and negative self-talk? Like is it just kind of a quiet confidence that is where the true self is, or does it depend? Like what?
Yeah, it looks
help me
different
understand this.
Yeah, it looks different for everybody.
Yeah.
And so the best way I know to help people understand, like, am I operating in my true self? There's some characteristics to it that we list out. So one of the hardest characteristics that we'll talk through is like you're able to meet people where they're at, right? So like if I'm a team leader and have somebody on my team that just can't seem to step up, right? They're just struggling to step into a space or be pushed or grow.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually meet them where they're at rather than want them to be where I want them to be, right? But meeting people where they're at also includes yourself. So you have to meet yourself where you're at. So it's a space of, I'm content with where I'm at, but I'm still going to work today to get better for tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Another space in the true self is you get to experience some joy when things go right. On the ego side, all you can experience is relief. So high ego, low ego, if something goes right, your response would be like, oh, thank God. Right? Praise the Lord, it finally went right. On the other side, you can actually celebrate it and find joy in the fact that it turned out the way that it did.
Regardless of what you wanted to begin with.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There is a space in the true self of you being content in the moment.
What about saying things that are hard, like regardless of the room or the circumstance? Would that play into this at all? Like if I've got an opinion, like let's say I'm in the boardroom and I'm not the boss.
Yep.
The boss is sitting across the table and I know he has an opinion on something and my opinion's totally different.
Mm-hmm.
Would being in the true self be the kind of person who maybe in a diplomatic way, but
Mm-hmm.
still truthful way, say, hey, I see it differently. Is that part of this? Or
yeah, it definitely could be.
Okay.
Because like if you swing back towards that middle ground of like the chameleon quasi self,
Mm-hmm.
they're just the best yes man people pleaser. So they won't say anything. They'll just be like, sounds good, boss.
Right.
Right. So yeah, and that's the wild thing with this is like you have to, the more you can understand yourself at a deeper level, the higher the level you'll be able to operate in those spaces of like, yes, this is the right time to say this. I'm going to say it.
Okay.
Right?
This is, I mean, who doesn't like a good personality test and like but completely different. But there's so much, you're describing so much self-discovery that
Mhm.
that maybe it's just me, but that's really hard to be self-aware. Like I feel like that's part of maturing is, there's so many times in the middle of the night I like wake up and think of something stupid I said, just being completely unaware of how I was coming across. And I'm like,
Mm.
so embarrassed about it. And a decade later, I have like a little more self-awareness to understand what I'm feeling, whether I'm having these like self-deprecating thoughts and I can reason through it and realize, okay, you're tired or you need to eat or whatever, and have the awareness enough to read a room and understand what the room needs. And maybe it's not my job to tell everybody what they're doing wrong or whatever, but this is so, because there's a million books, there's a million tests, there's a million you know different ways. And the fact that you have a curriculum and a laundry list of tools on how to help people understand themselves mentally, because that's hard. Like I don't know if you can relate to this, Callum. Like that's so hard for me to know my inner dialogue and why I'm saying and what I'm saying. Am I too high? Am I too low? Just understanding.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like we both need to hire Rustin. But yeah, I'm definitely with you. It's one of those things when you just going through your day, it's hard to take moments to kind of have that introspective look at things. And I guess that's where these level 5 people have really got it figured out, because they can do that and they're also seeing everybody else. It's like the Matrix for them, I guess. But I mean, can you say a little bit more about, so we've talked about the first layer that you're looking at, which is like these levels 3 to 5.
Yeah.
And then you've got your pendulum of ego to, what was the term?
True self.
True self. And then in between, you've got the chameleon. So how do you put those together? Or is there another layer that's coming in after you've done those two parts?
Yeah. So the exercise that we do at the end of that day. So normally the way we do this with teams is we'll do like a 2-day experience, 2-day workshop. So those first 2 sessions, day 1, and then at the end of day 1, we'll do it's called the identity wheel. So you'll fill out this identity wheel. You'll describe yourself. You'll put the things on the wheel that are important in your life, if you have deep, connected relationships too. And then we walk through it. So seeing that in person, especially in a team setting, is one, it's really vulnerable, right? Because it gets really deep really fast, and you don't know it's going to get that deep that fast because you're just talking.
Yeah.
So some stuff will come out and they'll be like, okay, gosh. But we'll go through the wheel. And then the amazing thing is, like, I always tell people you can't do this alone, right? Like, you can't do this self-work alone. You need other people, a key small group of people around you to help walk through this stuff that you can talk with about it. And so in that space, walking through their wheel with them, then we get to discuss, like, okay, what themes are arising here in their relationships? Where are they at? What happens most of the time is how they describe themselves in the middle is not quite true to their true self. It just reveals how they're actually showing up. So it reveals, like, oh crap, like I think I'm being true, but really I'm over here on this deflated ego side all the time. And so it's almost a mirror of, hey, this is where you're at. So now it's your job to help swing that pendulum towards a true self. And you can only do that with some self-awareness to understand what helps pull you that direction and what helps pull you the other direction. Because it's just like with the 3, 4, 5s we talked about. It's like you can walk into a room and you may be, the guru in the last room you're in. And you walk in and so-and-so's there and you're like immediately back to a 3. Same thing happens with your identity side. It's like, man, I was fully me. That meeting felt great. You leave, you walk into this other space and it's like, oh, something, there's like we can feel tension when we walk into a room. It's that kind of like guttural approach to life. And it's like, oh crap, I'm back over into this people pleasing mode.
Can you maybe tell a story that you can, but share a client example of a business owner or an executive, and how this helps them do whatever?
Yeah. So I've done quite a few groups with Beat and Bow now. One of the first groups I was in, the team that came in from the region, like the big guy, we went through his wheel together, which was awesome. And he had like 15 descriptors in his middle section. That's way too many. It's kind of like core values, right? Like if you have 15,
got to narrow it
that's
down.
a problem. Yeah. And so as we were walking through it, his realization that he made was, and he asked the question, is this why I try to show up in every way for everybody? I was like, 1000%. You're trying to be all these things for everybody when you need to understand that at your core, this is who you are. So if you can operate as your true self as much as possible, right, and put on your oxygen mask first, it's that kind of cliched example. If you take care of yourself first, you can show up at a higher level and have a higher capacity to show up for other people, right? And so for him, it was that space of like, oh, wait a second, I am trying to do everything for everybody. And then what the downside to that was, like he's not helping the leaders under him step into leadership more fully or feel empowered. And so, yeah.
I feel like that's such a classic mistake that a lot of people make, and especially in maybe every aspect of life, but especially in the workplace, is just trying to do too much and do things that are outside of their best special ability, whatever you want to call it. And it's so hard to sometimes realize, like, no, I just need to focus on the things that I'm really great at. One thing you said a minute ago that I think ties to that, and I'm curious, would you say that sometimes we're better at seeing the faults in another person than we are in ourselves?
1000%. Yeah.
Okay. Is that why the group dynamic is so powerful in what you're doing?
Yeah, that's why I like group dynamics, is because usually there's somebody in the group that's brave enough to be like, no, that you don't do that. You're saying you do that, but that, and kind of call them on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the team dynamic is huge, especially if you have a team that's willing to say those things. Sometimes there's teams that aren't, but I can see it facilitating because I'll see people's reaction, like they don't hide it and they're like,
yeah, they may not say it, but they
may not say it.
Yeah.
And so I'll just kind of be like, is he right? Like, is he, and sometimes somebody will say something and then they won't. And so that's where I get to have fun and just kind of lean in and push and prod a little bit. Yeah.
Sounds intense.
Yeah. It also, but like, it makes sense, doesn't it? Because healthy teams can talk more openly.
Yeah.
And aren't just, playing political games. It's more, everything's on the table. And when you do that, you can get to the truth so much faster because it's like, I'm not just trying to please the boss because he's the dominant personality in the room. I'm going to have the freedom to speak up in a way that's not about my ego, but just about, I don't see it as true what you just said, like that's so powerful for all teams, I think.
That radical candor is like so hard to get to.
Yeah, culturally.
And like clunky and but having a guide, a coach to, put some guardrails on and getting vulnerable like that is, I mean, I can think of a short list of people that I would, want to get vulnerable like that with. But I imagine in a team, if you can get to that, that's a highly effective, well-oiled machine.
Yeah, because what's interesting is we get to talk through like the individual side, right, of the stages and also the identity, but then we get to go back and say, okay, now where's the business? Like, is the business operating 3, 4, and 5? Is the business helping people? Is the business operating, helping others operate in their true self, or is it pulling them another direction?
Yeah.
And so you get to see it from like a collective space, but also an individual space. And like on my side, I get to see really quickly the environments where people do feel free enough to actually say what they're thinking and the environments that they don't. Right. So you get to recognize kind of what's under the surface, because the reality is when you're operating close to your true self, because you'll never be there 100%. Right. But when you're there, it'll cause some waves, right? Because people that are an ego see somebody else that's just fully them, and it's kind of infuriating, you know? And so there's that kind of pushback. But what's interesting about it is the more you can help people step into that space, I mean, ownership and buy-in, everything increases through it. It's just sometimes it depends on the leader, right? And so that's why, like, second day, we get into some leadership concepts. And so, yeah, it's really interesting because the tone of the room and the tension in the room, or no tension in the room, is often like felt within the first 10 minutes of the first session.
So would you say, because you're talking about, people who are being close to their true selves, it's going to create a little tension at times. It's going to make some waves.
Yep.
So would you say that a room of business leaders that has no tension might also be a problem? I mean, like, obviously we walk into a room and we all know what it's like to walk into a room and there's no oxygen because it's just really tense. You don't want that. Would you say, though, that like somewhere between we're all just totally relaxed and no oxygen in the room is like the sweet spot?
There's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you say there's no conflict or no issues, you're lying.
Yeah.
They're just under the surface waiting to bubble up, and they'll bubble up at the worst times, right? Like in the athletic world, like those teams that say they're great, but they never work through any kind of conflict or have any disagreements. In playoffs, somebody's going to blow up, right? And then it's just going to ripple effect.
The truth will come out. It's just a matter of when the pressure is applied.
So you really there is a sweet spot of like tension, and then it's just a matter of like understanding when to bring that tension forward and when to challenge and when not to, and when, and that comes with some self-awareness and maturity, like you were talking about. It's like, it's not always, like probably not a great time to talk to coach about schemes at, 1 minute left in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Probably not the right time. So,
man, that's such a hard thing to get to that level of camaraderie and a team that's together. Like, that's, I can think of a handful of times growing up where like you had that special team and everyone was on the same page, operating within their flow state.
It's amazing when it happens.
Right.
But it's so rare.
Yeah, man. How did you get into this?
Man, I got into this work when I was coaching. So got into coaching late in life because I thought I was going to be a dietitian.
Okay.
And along the way through dietetics, finished my degree, and my brother was a coach and he had an open spot and I took it. And so working in that space, I was a head girls track coach out in Slayton, but in a small school, you help everywhere. And so I was an assistant coach in the fall and winter before track got there. And a lot of my side conversations I noticed with athletes had nothing to do with skill, right? There was some sort of block or something that they were dealing with that was stopping the skill from taking over. And so that's when I got interested in it. I was like, okay, there's something here that I'm missing that I need to be educated on. Because for most high school kids, it's like, shut up and work. It's kind of the old school mentality. Some of it's changing, but it's still, that's the culture for the most part. And so I think me coming in late, I did not have that approach. And so I was like, okay, I've got to dive in and see what's going on. And so, I started studying, researching, calling people in the field and making connections with people who are already operating this space to see how they work through stuff, how they handle stuff, where they learned it. And then just went on a deep dive for, 5 or 6 years. And then like when I opened the gym, offered my first like mindset class. And it wasn't like, I didn't have curriculum really. I just had all these ideas and concepts. And I was like, we'll talk about these, and offered it. And I think like 20 athletes showed up to the first one. And I was like, okay, I guess there is something that they want. And so, so from there kind of honed in on the foundational sessions that we do now.
That's awesome. So how many years have you been at this?
Like full-time tilt like this, 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. Started doing businesses 3 years ago. So,
that's wonderful. Yeah. And done some work for Beat and Bow and some other places as well. Yeah,
quite a bit with Beat and Bow. I mean, just they're local, and now I've gotten to know a lot of them. And so Beat and Bow's probably the kind of largest groups that I do. done some work with Terracon, and then went out to Phoenix and worked with a tech company out there. So just kind of hopped around in the business world, and then just like individual business leaders I've worked with.
I imagine this is a very high soft skills profession. You like, I imagine it takes a unicorn to do what you do. Do you have any support staff or anything? Is it just you coaching?
It's just me. Yeah.
Just you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's something I've thought about a lot, is like what that would look like because it has to be, I didn't realize I was good at it until I started doing it, but it really does. It takes somebody, one, who knows the content well enough, but also has the ability to facilitate discussion and be willing to step into some uncomfortable spaces with people. Yeah. So it's tough.
Well, and being able to tailor your approach to the individual, like you were talking about at the beginning, given all the background and levels that people are at, or where they're at on that pendulum, like, okay, now I want you to try these strategies for your specific problem. I mean, that's not just something, somebody with a bachelor's degree can walk out of school and start doing. So it's just amazing that you've been able to develop this. So as you've built this business and you look back, what did you say, 6 years?
6 years, yeah.
Okay. So what's been the biggest win? What was a really exciting moment, kind of a breakthrough for you in this?
Before this summer, so I'm working with the Lubbock Matadors this summer, which has been phenomenal. Like being around all the international guys. And there's something about being with a team along a journey that's pretty special too, right? Because you get to build, it's like live at bats, like you are learning on the fly and you're dealing with stuff week in, week out. It's different. So that working with the Matadors is one. Before that, I went up and worked with the Oregon State women's basketball team. That was a huge one.
Wow.
Like it was a year that I went up and did some work with them, like in October before season started. Great team, phenomenal coach. Coach Rook up there is like one of my favorite coaches ever now. Love the guy. Just the way he processes life and basketball and competition. But they were picked like 10th in the Pac-12 that year and ended up making it to the Elite Eight. And it was amazing. Like just to hear them talk in post-game conferences and like to hear how they're processing stuff and how, because it comes out in those interviews. And it was like, oh, that's it. Like, this is the move. This is the way we want to trend. Yeah. So it was really cool. Yeah.
So if you want your business to go from last in their conference to Elite Eight status, whatever that is, just hire Rustin.
Yeah.
He's going to have a breakthrough with your culture. That's what I'm taking away.
Exactly. So what does this look like 5 years from now?
Man, it's a great question. I don't know if I've even processed that far down the line now, which is really interesting. Because I've been moving into this space, because I own and operate the gym side, and I've been doing this on the other side. I've kind of had a foot in both doors, you know what I mean? Like on each side of the threshold. And so now I'm getting the business set up so that I can go full tilt into the mindset work. And yeah, I would like to have other people along with me, to have somebody else in the rooms with me that can walk people through these exercises and through this journey. I don't know. I think there's
like a dream client or a dream type of client. I mean, the Matadors, it's kind of our Lubbock's semi-pro soccer team. And so you're kind of getting into some more elite level type athletes.
Yeah.
Do you have any aspirations as far as that?
Yeah. The elite athletes are fun, but they're just like a high school kid. Like they're dealing with the same stuff. They just have more years of dealing with it in ways that probably aren't productive. And so there's a little more work that has to be done with them. And so the team environment is what I love. Like working with teams over a progression is phenomenal because we get to recalibrate and work through. Because the thing is we'll go through the foundational work. Like if you're a business and you come in and you do 2 days, it's like a conference, right? It's like awesome. You get all this new knowledge and information, and then you're back into the real world.
Yeah.
And so really with businesses, the sweet spot is to do the foundational work and then have like bi-monthly recalibration sessions. Like, hey, this is where we're at. What are we doing? What are y'all dealing with? what kind of challenges you're facing, and then be able to process through those in a way that's helps move them forward in a good direction. Because we'll default back into our old modes of operating. We just do, you know. And so yeah, the team world is really where I want to live. That's where I get, I don't know, I just
energized.
Yeah, it's like the juice.
Yeah, super impactful if you can turn an entire team around and then collectively see what that looks like. And so on the business side, it's that two days really getting into who am I and why do I do what I do, and then every other month you're checking in and working on a current issue together and working through that. That's great.
Yeah. It has a lot of similarities. We do a very different type of business coaching, but it's a lot of the same principles in terms of like, anytime you want to make changes, it's not like, oh, we had a great seminar and everything's good now. You know, it's like, no, you got to have a lot of reps. And I guess that's a good analogy for the sports that you work with too. It's like, you have to keep having practices, and change happens slowly over time where you finally get those habits instilled and you can rebuild your life around these structures that you're trying to incorporate. So that's it's cool how there's a lot of overlap there. And I'm curious, you know, as a business owner, as a solopreneur, building this thing up and trying to create something that's kind of a novel business for a lot of people. What has been a big challenge in that, or have you ever had a moment that was a setback or time where you kind of had to gut check and say like, is this really what I want to do? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think there's always those spaces with everyone of like, man, is this really like, don't want to keep plugging along here sometimes. Yeah. I think for me, the biggest challenge is just getting into the rooms, because the hardest part of this work is like actually explaining what happens if you'll buy into it, or what it even is sometimes, right? Is like, because people are like, I don't want to work on me, right? Like, I mean, I did a parent class for athletes, like an athlete, parent of athlete class for some parents last fall. I'll do it again this fall. I'd put it off for years, and because I was like, I've coached long enough, like, I don't know if I want to step into that world, with these parents. And so I just took them through the same content. What was interesting is I think they came in thinking I was going to give them the tools to help fix their kid. And what they began to understand was, oh, no, I'm actually working on me a little bit here and how I approach my kid. But yeah, I mean, there's been groups that were heavily resistant, and those, I mean, they're hard. Like you get done with the 2 days, and I mean, I'm pretty gassed at the end of 2 days anyway, facilitating for, I don't know, 15 hours. And it's like, when they don't flow, or it's like pulling teeth, it's like, oh,
that could be challenging.
Do I suck at this? It's just kind of those questions that come up, I think, with everyone in those spaces. But the ones that the resistance is there. Like, what's interesting about it though is like, I feel the resistance, but so does everybody else in the room. And so that's when it's like, I don't want it to take away from what somebody else could get, but I can't control that either.
If you could give our listeners maybe, 1 to 3 blind spots that are kind of common things that you see that are something they can see in themselves and get out of their own way.
Or the organization as a whole.
Okay. Let me think. I don't know if I've ever been asked that question before. That's really good. So common blind spots that are probably the biggest dangers, in my opinion. One is, after we go through the stages, people often convince themselves they're somewhere they're not. Self-deception at a high level. But what they also don't realize with that is being, let's say they're at a stage 3, a big aspect of a stage 3 is you don't accept feedback, right? And you surround yourself with other people that look like you, operate like you, process like you, think like you. And so what some organizations the biggest blind spot I see is leadership is filled with people that look like them, operate like them, think like them, but they'll deny it. Right. And they'll deny it because they don't want to come to the fact that, oh no, we don't have anybody that, but they'll be like, no, there's this, when I say this, they're always challenging me. Right. But it's a challenge from such a similar perspective or vantage point. It's not really a challenge.
I see.
Right. And so you want people from different, thought processes and diversity. And, you want as much diversity at leadership that you can have, just with how you see and view the world, because it's going to help solve problems better. Right. If we all see it the same way, we're seeing it from a 10-degree shift to solve this problem when we really need some people 360 degrees around the problem. And then the other one is most people take challenges and they make them a technical challenge when they're really an adaptive challenge. So it's the last session we do with groups. But the technical side is we see a challenge, even if in a business. So I just did this with a Beat and Bow group, and we talked about this. And the technical challenge was available homes, right? Moving available homes. And so they kept talking about it. And they're only approaching it from the technical. Like, well, if we put this system in place, we train these people, it's like, okay, there's a formula to fixing it. And some things are technical, right? Like building a house, technical, right? So, but we process the world in a technical way because we want to move from point A to point Z, right? The reality is the available homes aren't moving because people aren't bought in. Like employees aren't bought into what we're doing is what ended up coming out. Right. So really the challenge is, how do we create buy-in? It's not how do we move homes. It's okay. So how do we reframe this challenge as an adaptive challenge and stop making it a technical one? Because if you always make it technical, then the root of the issues, it's going to pop back up.
So what is an adaptive?
Adaptive means there's no clear solution to it, and you have to change. So technical challenge, I don't have to change. There's an expert who can fix it. We follow these steps. Done.
It's an engineering problem.
It's an engineering problem, right? The adaptive is there's no clear-cut solution, and I actually may have to change to meet this challenge.
People don't love hearing that. They like the clean,
of course,
technical challenge. They like to use math and a formula and just do it that way. Yeah. It's so insightful, though, that not everything can be solved in that way. And I think a lot of business owners have been successful because they're good with technical challenges, not always great with recognizing they've got an adaptive challenge in front of them.
Correct, yeah.
And I think that's good for our listeners. It's good for them to realize that they might need to look at things through a different lens. And the intangibles of culture, which is a big deal of what you do. Something Albert said a minute ago, and I was like, that's it. You said, there's only 5 people that I really want to be vulnerable with. And I'm like, that's exactly why it's hard. Everybody feels that way, or a lot of people feel that way. And for some, their list is even smaller than 5. And they're probably not working with those 5 people. So it's like, how am I going to build an open, truth-seeking culture in a room full of people who don't necessarily want to be vulnerable with each other and don't like this kind of soft skills way of looking at things. They just want to build formulas and engineer their way out of the problem. But anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying what I think that's such a great insight. And how do you help business owners recognize technical versus adaptive challenge when they're thinking about something?
Yeah, so in that session, I just have them pose a challenge that they're facing, like a current real world challenge. What is the challenge? And then I'll let them talk about how they would solve it or what they need to do. And then at some point we stop and we say, okay, what's the real issue? And they'll kind of resist at first. So I'll just keep asking questions to lead them into what the actual issue is that's causing the challenge at hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's kind of reminds me of Lean, the 5 whys.
I was about to say 5 whys.
Yeah.
That's funny. You just keep asking why until you get to the root of it.
Yeah. Which it can be effective. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just kind of annoying. Why? Why? But I think you've got a good strategy there that is even a little bit more nuanced, it sounds like. So I know we're getting close on time here. You think it's time for a fire round?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Apropos of nothing, Rustin, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, you put this on the list and I was trying to figure it out. Favorite movie, probably right now, Interstellar.
Okay. A deep one.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in that one.
There's a lot going on in that one. I saw that in theaters, and I don't think I watched it again, but it was like my head was spinning at the end of that one.
Yeah, that's the one you have, like you're in the parking lot and you're like talking with your wife about what the Tesseract was, like what was all, like you're unpacking it.
I think that's why I liked it, because it wasn't like there's so much left open.
You're a cerebral guy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on to you.
Okay.
Aside from the Bible, what is your favorite book?
This one may surprise you. Fight Club.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait,
you liked the
It was
book?
a book
Yeah,
before the movie.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it's phenomenal.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if you read the book from a not just surface level, Fight Club, like kind of the tones of the book. It's fascinating.
I read that in high school, and I think I was more of like just wanted to read the fighting. That might be one I need to revisit.
Well, the movie is one that people always talk about having layers to it and depth. Mm-hmm. And I'm the same way. I saw it when I was like high school or early college, and it was just like, oh, cool, fighting.
Yeah.
I missed the whole depth of it. Yeah. So anyway, good answer. I appreciate that. What's one piece of advice that you hear sometimes that you wouldn't necessarily agree with?
One piece that I wouldn't agree with?
Specifically that overlaps with your business. What's a piece of advice that's common that you don't agree with?
So that more is better. So there's a mentality in, even sometimes in the like entrepreneur space, of like just keep grinding.
Yeah.
Right? And that if you just keep doing more, and it's heavily prevalent in the athlete world, right? But yeah, just that more is better, because really more isn't always better.
Yeah.
There's a science to it, so to speak. So yeah.
We've seen that. Yeah, we've seen that with business owners that we've worked with as well. It's a great answer.
Yeah. If you never know like what is enough, what is the end all be all goal to all of this, then you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be satisfied. Great answer. Okay. If we wanted to send people your way to do business with you, how do they get in touch with you? Where do they go?
The way the world is now, everything's social media. So that's like the biggest connector is Instagram and Facebook, TikTok these days. So that's an easy way. The other way is through our website, just peakmovement.com.
Peak Movement. And then on socials, what's your handle?
So socials is Peak Movement everywhere. So movement's MVMNT.
Okay.
So when I did the LLC, Peak Movement spelled out was already taken. So I had to find MVMNT. Yeah. MNT. So just movement without the vowels.
There you go. Okay.
And then, so I just launched a new Instagram page for the mindset work, Peak Mindset Collective. So
I'm on it.
That's recent, like within the last couple of months.
All right. I need to follow that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when this episode posts, I'm sure we'll all be putting these things on our social media accounts. So anybody who's out there listening, you can click the links and get to some of Rustin's content and his website.
And if you want to do reading, I write a blog a couple of times a week on the website. It's like the landing page now. So
okay.
Yeah, if you want to dive into some concepts with me,
I need to check it out.
That's where you go.
I need to check it out. Man, thank you so much.
Yeah,
that was great. I didn't know where that would go, and that was great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rustin.
All right. If you enjoyed that podcast and you got a lot out of it, go ahead and click subscribe and keep coming back, because there's more where that came from. I appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.